Adventures of the Soul. Journeys through the physical and spiritual dimensions. Part 3, How the Soul Lives in the Physical. Chapter 7. Your Soul's Lessons. As souls, we are infinite beings with unlimited potential who inhabit a physical body on the earth to learn lessons about creating love. Our subconscious contains a plethora of soul experiences gleaned from a multitude of past lives, as well as the knowledge and wisdom of the spirit world. We utilize these remnants of cosmic wisdom to assist us in our next sojourn on planet Earth. The human world is one of the more difficult dimensions, because this is where the high vibration of concepts and ideas takes on physical form and is brought into reality. We aren't given an instruction manual at birth, so sometimes we don't know how to manifest these high ideals. Therefore, when we return to Earth, we must rely on the soul's innate knowingness or intuition to assist us in the optimal way to approach our human challenges and opportunities. We work through these lessons in the hopes that they will act as signposts to help our souls remember their ultimate destination and keep us on the right track. Relationships. In this school called life, we will take various classes, which involve subjects or experiences we signed up for while still in spirit. Before our incarnation, we choose the life we think will afford us the best opportunities and/or challenges to help us hone our skills in practicing the energy of love. For most souls, much of the curriculum is defined by the relationships they will experience on Earth. These relationships will present opportunities to learn valuable lessons that the soul wouldn't receive any other way. Therefore, relationships are the cornerstone of a soul's growth and learning. Earth is like a smorgasbord, offering a range of lessons the soul is seeking to perfect. Soul groups. Fortunately for us, we never go to school alone. Not only do we always have a constant connection to our tutors and guides, we also incarnate with soul groups. The soul group will interact on Earth as family, friends, and lovers. We've all heard the saying, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Well, yes and no. You've all picked each other as a well thought out cast of characters in a specific circumstance. Each member of this family has been through many past life experiences together with you, developing an intricate pattern of energy that the group uses in order to learn and understand. If you're able to look at your family dynamic objectively, right now, as you're reading this, that insight can reveal the bulk of the lessons your soul has come back to learn. Some families get along well and have more than likely learned the karmic family lessons of valuing and respecting each other. Dysfunctional families are still learning. These lessons are not always easy to master, because the people in your life who present the greatest challenges are usually your greatest teachers. When you get into unpleasant circumstances with a member of your inner circle, don't jump into the emotion of the issue. Instead, step back, take a few breaths, and check your inner GPS. Love, forgiveness, and compassion are always the route to take, not judgment, retribution, and spite. Something else to consider when thinking of a challenging family member is whether perhaps he or she is holding a mirror up to you. Do you share the characteristics of someone who angers you? Because we truly are connected as one, the elements demonstrated to you by family members represent what you must learn about yourself. For instance, perhaps you must learn about forgiveness or acknowledging your worth. There is no longer time for you to avoid, blame, or place judgment. If these lessons aren't learned, families find themselves revolving in a vicious cycle of disharmony. It takes great strength and perseverance for a soul to pull the family out of this chaotic, toxic energy so that everyone can view the situation from a higher perspective, learn the lessons, and begin to heal. You must also take into account that the healing may not just be for the benefit of the soul that is going through it, but it may also be an opportunity to heal generations in a lineage of imbalance and disharmony, resulting in tremendous advancement for the soul family. As we all know, relationships can be the most intense and demanding of all the experiences we will go through in life, but also the most gratifying and rewarding. And since the energy of love is the ultimate vibration the soul seeks, relationships present us with the best opportunity to learn and explore it. But it's also important for us to learn how to love correctly. Of course, the first step in building healthy, loving relationships is to learn to love yourself. You must accept yourself as a loving representation of spirit. If you're to accelerate your soul's earthly sojourn, everybody makes mistakes, everybody loses their temper, everybody judges. But if we make a conscious effort to be mindful every day of how we treat ourselves and others, life becomes much easier. One of my favorite Helen Keller quotes is, "The unselfish effort to bring cheer to others will be the beginning of a happier life for ourselves." Love relationships. Intimate connections between two souls who are drawn to each other and share their lives as partners, or a married couple, are brought together because each one has an aspect of his or her soul makeup that the other partner might need to learn from. I personally am married to a man who I feel is one of the sweetest and genuinely pure souls that I've ever met. He is patient and kind, and in the 20 years I've known him, he has never said a bad word about anyone. If I come home and am upset that someone has behaved badly or inappropriately, he can always calm me down. He reminds me that I have to see the world from the other person's perspective before I can gain insight into that individual's motivation. He is right. His favorite book and movie is To Kill a Mockingbird, and he believes that this is the overall theme: you need to walk around in someone's shoes for a while before you can truly understand that person. That's why the story resonates with so many people. We have even named one of our dogs Boo Radley, after the iconic character who is so misjudged and misunderstood. Partners really assist us in finding within ourselves the truth that is there, but maybe we haven't taken the time to acknowledge or express. Brian and I were drawn together because I am here to learn the insights that he has already gained. He is helping me understand and see things in a different way and without judgment. I am an outgoing extrovert who loves to laugh, and I am teaching shy, introspective Brian to enjoy life and people more. It is truly a pure balance when one soul family member can contribute to another's growth and create a beautiful life together. You know when you share this bond because, besides your familiarity with each other, you become one being. One soul. The best in you finds the best in the other person. Friendships. Just as important to our soul lessons as family and intimate partners are the relationships we create with friends. It is said that a person rich in friends has the greatest riches of all. My good friend Jordy Fisher is fond of saying, "You have a friend for a reason, a season, or a lifetime." We attract to us those energies that we need, and for however long we need them. In the spirit world before our incarnation, soul groups plan out how they can assist each other in the next incarnation and what valuable lessons they can bring and share with each other, and it might last a week or many years. It can take lifetimes to develop close friendships, and the elements of trust. Honesty, respect, and appreciation are worked on and worked out until the souls are in complete harmony with each other. Friendships are one of the greatest ways to express love. Like attracts like is the law of attraction. If we live mindful lives centered on love and non-judgment, we'll attract the same type of people into our sphere. If we give that energy out, those who also give out that energy will be drawn to us. If we're bitter, envious, and spiteful, we will not only draw those same people to us, but will repel the ones who can probably assist us the most in our soul's growth. Who would you rather have in your life, when I teach my workshops and the students leave with a new sense of themselves as spiritual beings? They feel completely changed and more centered in themselves. I can actually sense their vibration shifting into a higher gear. And when these students who have been enlightened and empowered go home to friendships and relationships, they may discover that they're no longer in tune with some people in their lives. Career changes, location moves, and reevaluation of relationships are very common. Once we are awakened to our life lessons and put them in proper perspective, we hopefully will gain a sense of mindfulness. We're more in control of our lives, and we make better choices with respect to how we interact with everyone in our sphere. We become aware of approaching life from a place of love and not fear. We begin to truly live in the moment. We are conscious of living from the heart space of compassion and understanding instead of the rational head space of criticism and judgment. From the heart space, we also are able to see other souls as being products of their life experiences and choices, and it's easier to empathize. By changing ourselves and our perspectives, we change our value systems and lifestyles. We are quickening our vibration and frequency to a higher level, and in turn, those around us begin to change. Love is the fastest vibration, so when the soul begins to work within this frequency, it changes not only us but our entire atmosphere and environment. As we rise in vibration, all of our relationships will change because we are changing. There is a little-known Woody Allen movie called Another Woman in which Gina Rowlands plays a philosophy professor and author who operates so much, from the left brain, analytical side of herself that she is blind to the cold, emotionless exterior she presents to those around her. She feels superior and thinks that her blunt judgment of others is for their benefit. Her relationships have no depth, and she is comfortable keeping people at a distance. When she rents a quiet apartment in which to write her next book in peace, she realizes that through the air duct of the building, she can hear the raw, honest feelings of the patients in a psychiatrist's office next door. She is riveted by the authentic emotions of real people, and as she learns to accept her own personal shortcomings, her facade eventually starts to crumble and she begins the journey to transform her life. I think it's brilliant. Specific soul lessons. I know that as you're reading through this chapter, you're attempting to grasp the specific lessons your soul is learning, and wondering if that is even possible. The answer is yes. But you must take the time to find the answers. Looking inward is the key, and the easiest way to accomplish that is through meditation. Depending on the intention behind your meditation, you can gain knowledge and enlightenment. To gain insight into your soul's lessons, quiet your mind, take several deep breaths, and in your mind's eye, go back to a positive, joyful experience in your childhood. When you revisit this scene, live it and experience it as if you were part of it again. This is your starting point. Remember, we are not going to be judgmental in our assessments, just come from a place of observation, live in that experience fully, and feel the happiness. Now, slowly begin to see your life continue to unfold each year. Become mindful of the most important people in your life through these very specific times. Become aware and mindful of which people and situations make a strong emotional impact on you. Eventually you are going to bring yourself up to the present day. As you look back and experience your life, what specific scenes, situations, and behaviors seem to recur? Are you aware of the same experiences and your reactions to them repeating themselves? Do you sense that the major characters in your life have been cut from the same cloth? By being honest in your assessment, you identify the repeating themes or scenarios you experienced that are the lessons your soul has come back to learn for understanding and enlightenment. Throughout my career, I have found that there are several recurring challenges that my students have acknowledged as repeating themes in their lives. I have compiled a list of the most common, and also the possible soul lesson that may correspond to that life experience. It can be incredibly insightful and helpful to choose a challenge from this list that resonates with you and use the corresponding lesson as a daily mantra. Abundance, lesson, focus on what you do have instead of what you lack, because what you focus on is what you will receive. Know that you are a limitless being, and you are able to manifest whatever you desire. Abuse. Lesson, you cannot control what happens to you as a child, but you do have the power to release the anger and feelings of betrayal. The karmic cycle of abuse is one of the strongest there is, and you must learn to break it with forgiveness and understanding. Addiction. Lesson, the human body can be genetically predisposed to addiction. You have chosen this human vessel for a reason. You must learn that moderation and balance are the keys to harmonious physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. You must learn to accept the help of others. Change. Lesson, new soul adventures and opportunities for growth cannot happen in a stagnant environment. Know that you are always safe and protected when outside your comfort zone. Envy. Lesson, comparing yourself to others is a learned trait, and it will deplete your innate happiness. Treasure and love yourself, because you never really know what personal obstacles others may face. Failure. Lesson, mistakes are the best way to understand your strengths and weaknesses, but they will bear fruit only if you acknowledge them and view them as opportunities to learn, instead of defeats. Family. Lesson, your soul partners have agreed to travel with you on this current journey. They are here to support you and help you learn. If your family seems more like a challenge, examine the dynamics objectively and make peace with what you are able to. Fear. Lesson, your priority in this life is to connect to the source energy of love. Fear, in its many guises, is here to test you. Surrendering to fear only limits you and makes your path more difficult. Know that fear is an illusion and a trickster, and that there are tools to help you resist it. Forgiveness. Lesson, the ability to truly forgive is the richest tool of your soul. By releasing the negative energy that has been attached to you by the free will of another, you are unburdened of emotional stress and are breaking a strong karmic cycle. Grief. Lesson: something given to you and then taken away is an opportunity for you to appreciate having had it at all. Nothing is gone forever. Loss is a powerful learning tool, but know that it is only temporary. Guilt. Lesson: this emotion is one of fear's most devious guises because it is usually self-imposed. Forgiving yourself, and apologizing if necessary, is the kryptonite to neutralize guilt. Health. Lesson: to nourish, maintain, and constantly assess your physical health is a priority and necessity if your soul is to be productive on earth. An imbalance of your physical, emotional, or mental health is a challenge to spiritual growth. Judgment. Lesson: everything you see is made of the energy of spirit. When you judge something, you are judging yourself. Everyone and all events you encounter on your path are here for a reason. Learn to not label them as good or bad. They just are. Relationships. Lesson: the souls you choose to have an intimate relationship with are your best teachers. They hold a mirror up to you and let you know what you are lacking. Your soul calls into your orbit those who will instruct you the most. Self-esteem. Lesson: the path that your soul has chosen will present you with obstacles that may deflate your sense of worth and confidence. You must learn that you are here to overcome and will succeed in all that you desire, and that any feelings of inferiority are merely an illusion. The world can often seem like a very lonely place. It's important to remember that we are never alone. People, and even animals, can be placed in our path if we just lift our eyes from our cell phones and laptops and look around. Your soul family on earth is here with you, and your connection to everything you see is constant. Even if you're alone in a room, the love you're receiving from spirit can be overwhelming if you open yourself up to it. There are a finite number of humans on this planet, and you are one of them. You are special. You are here for a reason. Chapter 8. Soul Choices. The soul always has free will. It has the choice to expand and grow in spirit, or it can choose to merge with the physical. When the soul demonstrates its free will on earth, it can change the course of its own human life, the lives of those around it, or even the whole planet. The choices we make are a huge responsibility, because even the little things that we do in life can impact many. So the soul is not only responsible for its own optimal growth, it is also accountable for its personal influence on every single thing, other humans, animals, and nature and the environment. In order for the soul to truly grow, it must align itself with its inner truth and make a conscious effort to be mindful every single day. But that takes practice. Some people who have come to this awareness are better at it than others, but no one is perfect. When you reach this awareness in your soul's evolution, there will come a time for you to explore the road of self-discovery. Upon this road you'll soon realize that your current state of affairs has been created based upon the choices you've made in the past. At this pivotal moment you realize that although you've been impacted by the free will of others, you are completely responsible for the present you. Love versus fear. Humans need to understand that life is a series of choices. We make them every single minute of every day of our lives. Some are mundane and some are substantial, but they all design our world. And the easiest way to make a choice is to ask ourselves whether our decision is coming from a place of fear or a place of love. when I discuss this topic in my workshops, people look at me like I've lost my mind. It just seems too simple, and they try to rationalize reasons and excuses for not accepting the premise that all the important decisions we make in our lives can be linked to these two motivations. Most people overanalyze major decisions and make charts or lists with pros and cons, and there is nothing wrong with that. Or they do the opposite and just leave it to chance, or let the chips fall where they may. This is also a very relatable way of handling decisions because of the chaotic world we live in. All around us there is unconscionable violence, disrespect for life, economic uncertainty, degradation of the environment, and incredible poverty. We have to constantly remind ourselves that we may not be able to control the world and its problems, but we do have control over our microworld and our choices, with the hope that through sound, love-based decisions, we not only make our lives better but make the world at large a better place. A well-respected colleague of mine, Marianne Williamson, says, "Love is what we were born into, and fear is what we learned here." This statement could not be any truer. Love is the soul's nature, and fear is foreign to it. So imagine expressing and living your life through an emotion that is not even natural to it, not even part of its inherent composition. It's like constantly paddling a canoe upstream, instead of going with the flow of love, which is the natural energy of the universe. Evaluating your choices. One of the exercises I use in my workshops to help people evaluate this truth is to have them review the major choices that they've made to bring them to this present point in life. Were they choices that your family urged you to make? Were they choices based on how you would be judged by others? Did the choices involve solely financial gain? Did you make choices because you wanted to win someone's love or acceptance, or did you make your choices based upon what you truly felt deep in? Your heart would be right for you. What would make you happy? I then have my students review each major life choice, what motivation was behind that decision, and what the end result was. Most people find that the decisions they made from their hearts instead of their heads ended positively. I'm certainly not advocating that you jump into a decision without analyzing it, but if you let fear control your motivations, you usually won't end up happy. Even if you attempt to make a life choice from a place of love, the possibilities can seem overwhelming. This can easily make you feel confused and out of control, and you may place conditions on your decision-making. For example, if you were given the job of your dreams that encompassed everything you ever wanted, but it meant that you would have to relocate to a foreign city, what would your thought process be? Would it be that the challenges of living in a different country, learning a new language and culture, and leaving your family and friends would outweigh the prospect of a job that would make you creative and happy? There is no right or wrong answer for everyone, but there is a right and wrong answer for you. Only you know what would make you truly happy, and you can make the decision easier for yourself by following your heart. If you make choices based totally on love and what is right for you, then most become no-brainers. But if you make them based on fear or someone else's expectations, then chances are, you'll be swimming upstream trying to reach an ideal that never really was your goal, because the soul's true nature is love. If we stray from that motivation, we will never feel at ease. Choices based on fear leave us drifting aimlessly, always in search of our heart's desires and never finding them. The symbolism of the final scene with Dorothy and Glinda in The Wizard of Oz is unmistakable. Dorothy comes to the realization that the power has always been within her to make the right choices, no one could make them for her. After acknowledging the power of her thoughts, listening to her heart, and gaining the courage to use these tools, she has the awareness she needs to overcome the challenges on her winding path and is finally able to go home, to the energy of love. Listening to your soul's voice. Choices always come with consequences. We have to accept the realization that ours may create situations that we never expected. Sometimes when we make a choice from a place of love, the universe will test our commitment to our decision. You may find that after the choice, unforeseen events occur that can make you question yourself. You begin to rationalize, what if I had done this? What if I had done that? This might not have happened. It is in this panic-stricken environment that commitment to the path you've chosen for yourself is tested. This commitment can be to anything: health, abundance, relationships. You name it. You must trust your intuition, your soul's knowingness, when you make a conscious choice to base your decisions on love. There is a major freedom that also comes with that. There's no more second-guessing or doubt. Yes, there will always be circumstances or events going on that you can do nothing about. Other souls have free will, and you have no control over that. You know, life happens. But if you stay mindful of your own actions and become consciously aware that your power lies in this present moment, you'll get so much more out of life than merely existing. You'll begin to not take things for granted. You'll quickly see the little elements of life that bring sincere happiness and joy. The little annoyances that seemed so important and flavored with drama won't be as prominent. There will be times when you question yourself and overanalyze. But if you stay clear and honest with respect to your intention, you'll eventually begin to transcend your doubts and enter a state of inner peace. Your soul's voice becomes clearer. This is truly how the soul is meant to survive in this world. It is absolutely possible to practice mindfulness in every aspect of your life, at home, at work, and in relationships. You are an energetic being, and if you vibrate with the energy of love, then you are in sync with your true essence. Michelangelo is quoted as saying that he saw David in the block of marble and carved until he set him free. So, too, can we carve away at all that is not us. That is our challenge, to chip away at all the expectations and demands of the physical dimension, to reveal our real selves, beings of love that honor and acknowledge our true mission. Intuition is your guide to help you make the correct choices in life. If it doesn't feel right, then it isn't. You'll also have physical cues to help you. Goosebumps, gut feelings, and a heavy heart are all physical manifestations of your inner voice. I learned many years ago when I was developing my intuition to pay close attention to how my body feels. Because it will always tell me what is right for me. When these physical manifestations happen to you, recognize, acknowledge, and remember the sensation. That is the feeling that you want to have with each choice, situation, and event that presents itself on your path. That is your soul's GPS, and it will tell you the right turns and wrong turns that you're making, if you're listening. There is always choice. Choices are creative expressions of our soul selves. Whenever a circumstance presents itself, we have absolute free will to give it more power or give it a 180. If you're presented with anger, and you react with anger, then you're giving it life. If you're filled with resentment, then you're practicing resentment. The more fuel you give an emotion, the stronger it becomes. The more people who make the conscious choice to be happy and loving, the more that energy will permeate the world. Make the decision to practice positive thoughts and neutralize negative ones. Whenever I am faced with a challenging experience, I first sense whether I have the power to defuse the situation. I can control my actions, but I don't have the ability to control others. The Serenity Prayer is a useful tool. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. By using these words, I bring myself into a peaceful mindset that doesn't create space for anger or low-lying emotions to take hold. I look at the situation from an objective point of view and ponder, what is my soul learning from this? Of course, it isn't something that easily came to me. I had to practice this way of thinking every day. I've even gotten into the habit of making a game out of it. For instance, let's say I have just taken an exhausting, 10-hour plane ride, and I'm checking into a hotel, and the staff person behind the desk isn't being attentive. The game begins. How will I choose to react? I could get upset, rant and scream, and ask for the manager. This would leave me, the staff member, the manager, and any innocent bystanders all upset and unhappy, and that is the energy I've set up and have to live with. I would also have to be mindful that the energy I'm creating will have ripple effects. The staff and manager may use my negative energy on other customers, employees, or even family members. And I would be the source because of how I chose to react, instead. The other choice I have would be to wait until they have straightened out their situation, smile, and gently share with them how tired I am from traveling and how much I'm looking forward to lying down. I'd engage them and call them by name. In this way, I'm creating good energy that will come back to me. It's so much easier than fostering discord and having to live with it. For years I've been practicing this aspect of mindfulness, and I've felt so much more at peace with the choices I make. I'm not always perfect, but I make a conscious effort. I know that my reactions have consequences and that I'll have to own them. I'd rather own nice things. Choosing to be mindful should be the cornerstone of anyone's belief system. If your belief in how the universe works isn't prompting you to be a kind person, then perhaps it's time to rethink your belief system, because something is obviously not working for you. After you've practiced being mindful for a while, it just becomes who you are instead of what you try to do. It's like learning to play an instrument or learning a new language. The conscious choices meld into natural ones. Positivity begets positivity, negativity begets negativity. Thoughts of health maintain your health, thoughts of abundance bring you abundance. You are connected to everything, and the creative power of the universe is you. Never feel separate from it. You have the choice of how you want to live today. You are not defined by your past or by things that may have happened to you in the past. Without those experiences, you wouldn't be who you are today. Sometimes you can't have what is in front of you if you're not willing to let go of what's behind you. Chapter 9. Living a soul-filled life. There is a proverb, supposedly from the Cherokee, that I love. It goes, "When you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced." Live your life in such a manner that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. We all have the power to leave this world a better place than we found it. Some people do it on a grand scale, others do it by simply being kind, compassionate, and empathetic, or by following the golden rule, treating others as they'd like to be treated. It's such an easy concept, but one that seems beyond the grasp of many. Humans use the movement of planet Earth to define time. One full rotation on its axis is a day, one revolution in orbit around the sun is a year. In our three-dimensional world, time is a necessary device, and the hours, minutes, and seconds pass us by so quickly that before we know it, precious moments are gone, never to be repeated. If you can just pause every once in a while and become mindful of the space, people, and events around you and take it all in, then one day you'll be able to look back on the life you lived and know that your soul has generously appreciated every moment you've experienced on your journey. This is the beginning of enjoying a soul-filled life, one of the indications that you're following your soul's path, and not living a life based in fear, is when everything seems easy. When life is full of coincidences and synchronicity instead of obstructions and roadblocks. Then you know that you're on the right track. In my life, this has proved to be true over the years and often appears in the strangest of ways. When it happens, I feel as if I am moving to the beat of the cosmic choir, and when I truly listen to my intuition, I don't feel controlled by the illusion of fear and its many minions. Living in the moment. As I write this, I've just returned home from a weekend of pure soul fulfillment in Zurich, Switzerland. I was truly living in the moment, and the universe was unraveling a plan I sensed had been set in motion long ago. Telling the story with mortal words can't express the amount of joy and happiness I felt as I was living out this plan. Ever since I was a child, I've always wanted to visit Switzerland. I don't know why it calls to me, and in all the traveling I've done in the last 30 years, unfortunately Switzerland had never been on the agenda. Then a friend of mine phoned me out of the blue to say that there was a group of organizers who were producing what was advertised as an International Mediumship Congress in Zurich. And would I be interested? Needless to say, I signed on immediately, and I was honored to be the keynote speaker on that Saturday evening. I was also invited to do a full-day workshop on Monday. I took the 12-hour flight on Thursday. All during the flight, my heart was singing, and deep inside my soul, I knew this was beyond right. A wish that my soul had longed for was about to be fulfilled. I arrived very early on a Friday morning after the long plane ride and 6 hours of sleep. But I was so excited that it felt like I was a child experiencing Christmas morning. I've been to many cities of the world where I have felt the dread of a past life. As beautiful as Paris, Istanbul, and St. Petersburg are, I knew that my soul's human life had come to an unhappy end in those cities. Not so with Zurich. It felt light and joyful, and I was happy to be there. The organizers put me up at the Bauer au Lac, one of the most elegant and luxurious hotels I have had the pleasure to stay in. The staff, the grounds, the rooms, everything seemed otherworldly. After I checked in and dropped off my luggage, I was out to see the sights, and I kept hearing in my head, "Watch for signs." I knew my guides weren't warning me about traffic signs. They were encouraging me to be receptive to the signs of spirit. Brian doesn't travel with me much anymore since we got the dogs. It's not that we couldn't find a totally reliable dog sitter and know that Boo and Maisie would be fine, it's Brian who has the issue. He's just not happy being away from them for any extended period. Like 4 hours. Tops. So that leaves me with the luxury of inviting other soul mates, old and new, on my business trips. I had just taught a mediumship class in Dublin earlier that year and met a lovely woman named Antoinette Byrne, and I knew immediately that we would become friends, so I invited her to Zurich. I was not sure of when I was to meet Antoinette at her hotel, all I knew was that it was sometime in the early evening. After sightseeing, I strolled over to her hotel about 7 to pick her up for dinner. The front desk told me that she hadn't checked in yet. I thought that was strange. I imagined she would have arrived by now. I sat down on the stairs in front of the hotel and got out my cell phone to call her. Before I could push the first number, a taxi pulled up and Antoinette jumped out with a big grin, and we hugged. It was a long, silent hug. It felt like the world stopped for a moment to acknowledge the bond of two friends. We knew without even verbalizing it that as we met, our souls had stepped into some kind of an enchanting vortex, and we had a sense that this time together was orchestrated by the spirit realms. After she checked in, we hit the city. During my afternoon of sightseeing, I'd picked out a restaurant that looked quaint, so we strolled over to it, crossing a bridge as a gaggle of geese swam under it. It was like a fairy tale. At the restaurant, as we looked over the menu, she said, "You know, I'm a vegetarian." I felt horrible. I hadn't even thought to ask. Overhearing us, the waiter came back and handed us a vegetarian menu. They specialized in vegetarian cuisine. We spent the next morning checking out the venue where the mediumship event would be held, and we met some of the mediums who would be demonstrating over the weekend. Everyone seemed so thrilled and excited to be there. Antoinette and I left to go back to my hotel, but we became lost. Every time we thought we'd gotten our bearings, we would turn onto a street that we didn't recognize. We became so disoriented that it was actually funny. As we were laughing, she asked a stranger if he could help us. He had white hair and blue eyes and was impeccably dressed. Antoinette told him the name of the hotel, and he said, "Allow me to drive you, it would be easier." He not only drove us to the hotel, but he gave us a mini tour of the area and made sure we understood the main thoroughfares. At the hotel, he actually got out to open the car door for us. As he drove away, Antoinette and I looked at each other. And we both said, "Okay, that was an angel." I wouldn't know what else to call him. He was perfect. When we got to my room, we discovered a vase containing 24 long-stem red roses with a note that said, "Thank you for coming to Switzerland." No sender's name. I looked over at Antoinette, who had sat down in a chair. Her face was blanched. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Roses. Don't you remember the roses?" she said. She had to remind me that during the class I'd taught in Dublin, Antoinette's deceased mother had come through one of the students and delivered the message, "I am the one giving you the red roses." At the time, we didn't know what it meant, but now we did. Her mother had died at a young age, leaving Antoinette to raise 10 of her sisters and brothers. This was her mother's way of coming back and thanking her daughter. The weekend was filled with unexpected surprises and delights. At one point, we thought of buying bath salts for our hotel tubs, but it was a Sunday, and Switzerland being a Catholic country, everything was closed. We turned a corner and there was a bath store, open. The manifestations were occurring hourly. Finally, Antoinette turned to me and said, "What's going on? Are you an alchemist?" I laughed at her funny choice of words and replied, "I guess it's just meant to be." The whole weekend made me ponder the difference between fate, destiny, or some hybrid that involves predetermination and the subconscious and conscious energies of the participants. I believe that the weekend was fated and that we did have the free will to create a good time or a bad time, but there was an extra ingredient that I couldn't put my finger on. It was the effortless enthusiasm and joy we both surrendered to that made our time together so special. Take two kindred spirits. Add a dash of fate, cover it with enthusiasm and joy, release expectations, and you get magic. It really was alchemy. But what was that mystery ingredient that I couldn't define? I decided that Antoinette and I were experiencing soul-filled lives, and I decided to analyze the concept. Becoming aware. A soul-filled life is being consciously aware that you're connected to the source and trusting that events will unfold for you in a divine order. You always have free will, but you're so in tune with your intuition, your soul's voice, that your free will always makes the best decisions. When we begin to program our thoughts and our lives by using our soul's power or intuition and not the critical mind, then and only then can we be free to soar. We don't even have to think about it, we just have to be aware and alive. True wisdom comes from the soul, not the brain. When we cut off the soul by giving our power away to the ego part of ourselves, it's as if we're minimizing who we truly are. When you start living in accordance with the soul, joy overtakes negativity, abundance overtakes limitedness, and peace overtakes chaos. It is you who can create transformation and draw to you the perfect circumstances, relationships, and situations that allow you to expand and grow. The first step in a soul-filled life is to be aware. When you become more aware of the physical world around you, and how the power you possess through your conscious acceptance of your connection to spirit can change it, a whole new world opens up. It can benefit you by giving you a better understanding of what motivates you and everyone else who plays a part in your soul's life drama. But where do you start if you decide to lead a soul-filled life? I've been practicing techniques that I'll share with you. Sitting in silence. Start each day by taking a few moments to sit in silence. And I do mean before your day begins. This is time-specific, but can be accomplished in minutes. Sitting in silence can be one of the strongest gifts you can give yourself, and it's different from meditation in that the latter is quieting the mind of thought, but this exercise is more goal-oriented. There are actually conscious thought processes going on. In this space you can begin to be connected to your thoughts and how you feel about yourself at that particular moment. Be aware of what your approaching day will entail. Play through your mind the scenarios that are likely to occur and how you would best like to react. Watch your thoughts. Are they negative or positive in nature? When you have these thoughts, where do they originate? You may also consider sitting in front of a mirror and looking at your face in silence. This is what you're presenting to the world. What do you see? Can you become aware of what expressions you make that can be seen as friendly and welcoming, or anxious and wary? Begin to listen intently to your body. Do a mental scan. Your body will always talk to you and tell you what's going on with it. You know how somebody will say to you, "I've been having this pain in my side," and when you ask how long it has been going on, the person answers, "I don't know." Really? As you get to know the subtleties of your body, you'll also begin to become more aware of what part emotions play in how your body feels. I have no doubt that the emotion accompanying certain events and people can trigger a physical response. Think about alternative ways to handle these encounters that can rid your space of this energy. As we become more aware of our bodies, we begin to also become aware of various behavioral patterns we fall into. How do we react to certain circumstances? Do we have repeating thought patterns? Understanding our emotions and what triggers them can assist us in transforming our responses and making better choices in our lives. When we start to observe ourselves in this manner, we open the door to self-awareness on so many levels. Once we're honest about our feelings and reactions, we can also become aware of our expectation levels. Are our expectations about ourselves and others realistic? Being in the public eye, I personally have to deal with this issue, and I feel that my expectation of others is a repeating theme that I wrestle with daily. I often assume that people will behave in the same way I do. But you know what happens when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. I endured many sleepless nights, unnecessary confrontations, and a few meltdowns before I accepted that everyone operates differently, and if I go into a situation knowing that, I'm able to give myself the time to discern if this person is going to gel with me. And not everyone is, and that's totally fine. I just need to decide if this is someone I want in my life. It doesn't make him or her good or bad, it just makes that person good or bad for me at this present moment. My expectation level that I could get along with anyone was unrealistic. But by being honest about who I am and listening to my soul's advice, I give myself permission to make choices that are correct for me and in turn will sustain a more appealing, exciting, and soul-filled life. As you become more soul-conscious, know who you are, and present yourself to the outer world authentically, you will find more joy, peace, and harmony within yourself and with the people in your sphere. You're not going to like everyone, and not everyone is going to like you. It's a statistical impossibility. So don't fret over it, and don't feel guilty or insecure about it. If changing those statistics is important to your personal life or your career, you can take steps to do so. Positive, happy people attract positive, happy people. Make a conscious effort to pay attention to your thoughts and the energy you're giving out. It is easy to dwell on negative circumstances in your life, but it's also possible to try to program yourself so that every time you have a negative thought, you can spin it into a positive one. Reclaiming your joy. Being joyful is essential in spiritual life. When I conduct seminars, humor and joy are vital parts of my authentic self. Some people are confused by my attitude, because they think that talking to the dead should be a somber, serious affair. I couldn't disagree more. It's a joyous, happy event. It confirms that our departed loved ones are not really gone and that the bonds of love never die. What could be sad about that? Joy is our natural state of being, but living in this limited physical dimension bogs us down. It is natural and normal that we live happy and full lives. We should understand that all we will ever need to be joyful is inside of us, we just have to learn to find it. It's the most important thing that spirit incarnates to learn, but unfortunately, it's not taught to us by our parents or in schools or most churches. Here are some tips for you to practice in order to reclaim your joy. Set your intention. Having a clear, positive intention for your day is the easiest way to raise your vibration. Make sure that your intention is clear, but don't feel guilty if you don't manifest it. Just like a pole jumper who fails to clear the bar, dust yourself off and try again. Your intention can be general, like I want to be less judgmental today, or it can be specific if you're concerned about a confrontation or decision that is in the offing. Always envision the outcome as a happy ending. Be steadfast. Joy needs to be embraced on a daily basis, so when you set your intention, be sure to follow through. Don't let others influence you or talk you into what they think is the correct path. Advice is fine, but the decision is yours and you must live with the consequences. It's always best to look back at a decision and know that you succeeded in approaching it from a place of love instead of fear. This life is too short not to be happy, only manifest those outcomes that will bring you joy. Play every day. Every morning after our dog walk, Boo runs to find his ball to play catch. It is a daily ritual that has taught me so much. The big things in life demand so much of our time that we often forget about the little things that bring us joy. No matter what it is that you enjoy, reading, doing crossword puzzles, connecting with friends, be sure you carve out a section of your day to make yourself happy. If you're not happy, then the people in your sphere can sense it, and they will become unhappy. If you feed your soul, it remains healthy. Assess your current self. Check in with yourself several times a day and make sure you're fine. Look objectively at your current emotions and see if a person or situation is making you anxious. What's the best remedy for your uneasiness? You have the power to manifest the most satisfying result. You have the power to change the trajectory. A consequence is always the result of any action, and you have the ability to manifest the most joyful consequence possible. Have an attitude of gratitude. Always attempt to foster an attitude of gratitude. Do your best not to dwell or focus on the things that you may not have, but instead, be grateful for the things you do have. Life always presents challenges. Instead of looking upon them as obstacles, view them as experiences to learn and grow and ultimately succeed. Grief, hurt, and pain are physical tools that the soul can use as stepping stones to enlightenment. Hold on to happy thoughts. You're human, and you possess human thoughts that can be critical and judgmental. Make an attempt to nip those thoughts in the bud and replace them with positive ones. Negative thoughts harm the recipient, and they harm you. When a critical thought pops into your head, immediately think of something that brings you joy or laughter, and use those emotions to revisit the critical thought. Remember that love is the natural energy of your soul, flow with it, instead of fighting it. Take care of your body. Just as the deep-sea diver checks his equipment and maintains it so that he can have a pleasurable time beneath the waves, so too do we have to take care of and maintain our earthly vessels. The soul can't walk around and learn its lessons if we don't become aware of the needs of our human shells. Do your best to eat the right foods and get enough rest and exercise daily. I walk or run every day, and I find that music helps the time to go by. But my exercise playlist always contains uplifting songs with positive lyrics. Much like Robert Monroe's work with learning while asleep, I try to feed my subconscious with happy words. Create your belief system. There is no right or wrong way to find your path to joy and love. We are all different, so the beliefs that guide our journeys are going to be different. There is a lot of spiritual wisdom in the world, and some of it will resonate with you and some won't. Embrace the ideas that make you the best person you can be and allow you to treat others with kindness and respect. New insights will come onto your path every day. Be willing to take them into your heart if they seem right for you, or give them back to the universe if they don't. Let go of what's weighing you down. Every once in a while, we have to do a spring cleaning of our lives. Look around at yours and see which situations, people, and limitations are holding you back from living your joy. If it's a situation, examine it objectively and create a trajectory to bring it to a more joyful place. If it's a person, you too might have to discuss the obstacles in your relationship that are troubling you. You are here on earth to vibrate with the energy of love, and if something or someone is lowering that energy, it needs to be addressed. When our human lives have come to an end and the silver cord is severed, the energy of spirit that we call a soul returns to its natural home. Its natural home is a dimension of energy that our human brains can only define as love, but that love is much more than what we can comprehend down here in the physical. The soul looks back on its earthly sojourn and examines its choices and actions and thoughts in a loving, non-judgmental objectivity that is known as a life review. The soul feels the pain of those it hurt and the regret of opportunities it missed, but it also feels the love that it gave out and the kindnesses that it showed. During the life review, the soul realizes that it had one main objective on earth. And that is to love. Challenges are put in the way of that objective, and if we made a conscious effort to listen to the voice of our soul while on this physical journey, chances are we'll have a lot to be proud of. There is a great movie made in 1991 called Defending Your Life. In it, Albert Brooks plays a regular guy who dies and goes to Judgment City. There, he meets another new arrival played by Meryl Streep. She's very kind and sweet, and you can tell that she's led a mindful life. Her life review, which in the movie is like a trial, is going to focus on just 4 days of her human life, which is very low by Judgment City standards. Albert's character, who lived a life of fear and insecurity, is scheduled to view 9 days, which is not so good. The movie is funny and sweet and surprisingly wise. You have the power right now to make the conscious effort to transform your life into one of love and joy. You have the power to take the tools you've learned in this book and elsewhere so that your life review is more like Meryl's and less like Albert's. Your soul wants it for you, your loved ones want it for you, and spirit wants it for you. Sure, there are going to be challenges, but if you look upon them as things you've chosen for yourself to conquer, instead of things done to you to make you miserable, it makes the experience much more tranquil. I hope that by reading this book, you have been given illumination on your soul's adventures here on earth and that it has inspired you to consciously seek out the path to love. I have created some guided meditations for you in the last section of the book that will help you on your path inward. All of us are navigating our own personal yellow brick roads. Some of us are still asleep in the poppy field, some of us remain content with the material pleasures of the Emerald City. Some of us still think that the wizard is great and powerful and follow his arbitrary commands to curry favor, while others have seen the man behind the curtain and have become disillusioned or feel betrayed. For the rest of us, once we acknowledge that our heart's desires lie in our own backyard, inside of us, we'll be closer to home. And there's no place like home.